Hello everyone. In today's class, we will be dealing with the fertilization process, mainly fertilization and post-fertilization changes. Before that, let us go through pre-fertilization changes that we have already studied before pollination. And pollination is also a part of pre-fertilization changes. So we have seen that there are two reproductive parts in flower. One is male reproductive flower part, that is androecium, and female part is gynoecium. Now androecium, or you can call it as stamen, it shows presence of anther. Mainly we have seen dithecous anther over there, dithecous anther, and this dithecous anthers contain 4 pollen sac. We have seen the transverse section of anther in which 4 protective layers were there, and there was a microspore mother cell. Microspore mother cell was there, which was divided meiotically, and it formed 4 haploid pollen grains. It forms haploid pollen grains, and these pollen grains, they undergoes mitotic division and form generative cell and vegetative cell. Here also you can see generative and vegetative cells have formed, out of which generative cell gives rise to 2 non-motile male gametes. Here you can see 2 non-motile male gametes are present, and through the germ pore, pollen tube develops through which these male gametes reaches to ovule of gynoecium, right? This we have seen. Here you can see pollen tube is there, 2 non-motile male gametes are present. Now we have seen female gametophyte also. We have studied megasporangenesis and development of female gametophyte as well. Here we have studied anatropous type of ovule, where nucellus was surrounded by the integuments. These integuments meet at a narrow opening called as micropyle. Here, opposite end is called as chalaza. One of the cell of the nucellus, after division, it behaves as a megaspore mother cell, MMC, and then this divides meiotically and gives rise to 4 haploid cells, out of which 3 degenerates and 1 become functional, and then this functional cell again divides by mitosis and develop into 7-celled. Here you can see this one, 7-celled 8 nucleated structure, out of which 3 remains at chalazial end known as antipodals, 3 at micropylar end, out of which 2 are synergids and 1 is egg cell. And at the center you will find 2 polar nuclei. These are the 2 polar nuclei. So this was the background of fertilization. Now we have to see the actual fertilization process, and why are we calling it as double fertilization, and what are the post fertilization changes that we are going to see in this class. Okay, so now as you can see here, pollen grains are deposited. Here you can see pollen grains are deposited on the stigma by, of course, pollination process that we have seen in earlier video. Now this pollen grain try to germinate. Here you can see this is trying to germinate. This pollen is forming a pollen tube which is going to the micropylar end of the ovule. It has reached to the micropylar end of the ovule. This pollen tube, it carries 2 male gametes. Usually you will find that the pollen tube enters through the micropylar end, but other evidences are also there which we will see later. Now here our pollen has penetrated the ovule. Here you can see it has penetrated the ovule, this one. While doing so, one of the synergid, it degenerates and it gives way to the pollen non-motile male gametes. This degeneration of synergid gives way to the pollen, or you can say male gamete. Now the first male gamete, this first male gamete, it fuses with this egg cell, and by the fusion of this male gamete and the egg cell, we get the zygote, and this is the first fusion of this fertilization process, or you can say the first fertilization step, and this is also known as syngamy. This fusion of male and female gamete is known as syngamy. So here first fertilization has occurred. Now we have one more male gamete. So this male gamete is going to the center part of the ovule. Now here this male gamete will fuse with these two polar nuclei, and this will be called as triple fusion. Triple fusion, why triple fusion? Because three nuclei are getting fused together, so it will be called as triple fusion. And what are we going to get is, we'll be getting primary endosperm nucleus. As a result of the fusion of these, we'll be getting primary endosperm nucleus, which is 3N, that is. And now this is the second type of fertilization that is taking place in angiosperm. So one was the fusion of male and female gamete resulting into the zygote, and the second one is the fusion of male gamete, another male gamete, and polar nuclei. So this is how twice a fertilization is taking place, and that is why it is called as double fertilization. Okay, and after this process, slowly what happens, that these synergids, like one was remaining here, and the antipodals, they degenerates or disintegrates. Here also you can see this pollen tube is trying to reach the ovule through the micropylar end. One of the male gamete will be fusing with the egg cell and resulting in a zygote, and another one will fuse with the polar nuclei, forming primary endosperm nucleus. Now I have told you that generally pollen tube enters through the micropyle, but other evidences are also there. So first diagram that you can see is where the pollen tube is entering into the ovule through the micropylar end. This one is the micropyle, and the pollen tube is penetrating over here, and this is known as porogamy. This situation is known as porogamy. In second diagram, you can see that the pollen tube is trying to penetrate chalazial end. This is the chalaza, and it is entering through the chalaza and then going to the ovule. So this condition is known as chalazogamy. In third diagram, you can see that these are the integuments. These are the integuments. Here also you can see integuments are there, and the pollen tube is trying to penetrate through the, or it is trying to enter through the integuments, and thus it is known as mesogamy. Okay, so three types are there, three situations are there through which the pollen tube can enter into the ovule, but general is the porogamy. Here also you can see the same situation. Pollen tube is entering through the micropyle. One is fusing here and one will be here. So zygote at the end of the fertilization will be getting zygote and endosperm. Here also you can see double fertilization is taking place. At the micropylar end you will have the zygote at the micropylar end, and other cells will be degenerating. After this, after double fertilization, zygote is going to develop into an embryo, and primary endosperm nucleus, it will be developing into the triploid endosperm. Okay, so after double fertilization, zygote will give embryo and PEN will give triploid endosperm. This embryo is responsible for the development of new plant, and the endosperm is responsible for providing nourishment to this embryo. Now, what are the significance of fertilization? So, as we have already discussed, that zygote develops into an embryo, and we have triploid PEN also, which will develop into the endosperm, which is going to provide the nutrition to the developing embryo. Now, simultaneously, zygote and endosperm development takes place. They both develops at the same time only, but we'll be discussing this one by one. So let us discuss first, that is the development of endosperm. Generally, endosperm, we have already discussed that it is a nutritive tissue. That means it provides nourishment to the developing embryo. When the embryo grows, so it has a role of providing nutrition. Now, depending upon the type of division of this PEN, the endosperm is of three types. There are three types of endosperm depending upon the division of PEN. And the first type is nuclear type. First one is the nuclear type. Now, in this, what happens is the primary endosperm nucleus, it divides repeatedly by the mitosis process, and you will find that here only nucleus it divides, not the cytoplasm. That means only karyokinesis, that is division of nucleus, takes place, and not the cytokinesis, that means the division of cytoplasm. Here cytoplasm does not divide, only nucleus it divides, and after the repeated division of nucleus, it forms many free nuclei. These that you can see are free nuclei. Here also you can see single nucleus of PEN, that is primary endosperm nucleus. It is getting divided into many free nuclei. So this is the nuclear type of endosperm, where you will find only free nuclei, no cytoplasm division. Here I can give you an example of coconut milk or coconut water that we drink is actually this nuclear endosperm. Okay, second type is cellular type. In cellular type, what happens is the PEN nucleus divides into the two daughter cells. That means here you will find that the two cells are formed. That means cytoplasm has divided, division of cytoplasm has taken place. So here first, with the nuclear division, cytoplasmic division is also occurring. That means karyokinesis and cytokinesis both are occurring simultaneously. Here you can see cytoplasm and nucleus both are dividing, along with the wall formation. Wall formation is also there with the nucleus and cytoplasm division. So that type of endosperm is cellular type. Third one is halobial type. This is the intermediate stage between the cellular and nuclear type. Here you can see, here first cellular division occurs, followed by the nuclear division. Here you can see first cellular division has occurred, that means nucleus is also divided along with the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm has also divided, but in later stages you will find that the nucleus only divides and redivides. That means in later stages it forms free nuclei only. So here what is happening, first stage that will be that we are observing is cellular, followed by the nuclear one. So it is quite different type of endosperm. That is why it is called as halobial type. The name has given to that, this type is halobial type. So that was the endosperm development. Now let us see embryo formation, that is the development of zygote into an embryo, which is also known as embryogenesis, and it generally occurs at micropylar end. That means here at micropylar end we are having zygote, and thus here only embryo will develop. So here you can see different stages of, these are the different stages of embryo development. We'll be discussing this in detail. These are also same thing is there. That means different stages of this embryo formation. Let us see in detail. So first we have a zygote, which is present at the micropyle. Now this zygote divides mitotically and it forms two cells. Okay, two cells are formed over here. The one which is present at the micropylar end is known as basal cell. The cell which is present at micropylar end is known as basal cell, and the other one which is present at chalazial end is known as terminal cell. So we have basal cell present at micropylar end and terminal cell present at chalazial end. So let us see the division of basal cell first. We'll be going through the division of both the cells, but one by one we'll go through it. First division that we will see of the basal cell. So basal cell, it divides transversely and it forms 7 to 10 cells known as suspensor cell. It forms, these are the suspensor cells formed by the division of the basal cell. Out of these, the first cell, this first cell, it develops in hostorial cell. This is the hostorial cell. This has been developed into hostorial cell, and other behave as suspensor cells only. Okay. Now let us see terminal division, or this is also known as embryonal initial cell. So this cell is present at the chalazial end and it forms two cell stage known as a pro-embryo stage. Here what you can see is pro-embryo stage. When this terminal cell it divides, it forms two cell pro-embryo stage, which further divide and results in 8 cell stage. Here you can see 8 cell stage. This one is the 8 cell stage. Out of these 8 cells are generally arranged in 2 tiers, out of which 4 cells, here you can see 4 cells, they will contribute to form to develop radicle of embryo, which will result in roots, and 4 will contribute in the development of plumule, which will be resulting in shoot. So this is the 8 cell stage, and this is also known as globular stage because this is looking like a globule. So this is also known as globular stage. Now this complete structure will develop into heart-shaped stage. This will be followed, this complete structure will be followed by heart-shaped stage, and then we'll be getting the actual embryonal stage. This is the embryo in early stages, and then we'll be getting mature embryo. This is the mature embryo where you will find there is a development of cotyledons. Here you can see 2 cotyledons are present. Plumule is present. Radicle is also present along with the root cap. So this is the mature embryo. This is how from zygote we are getting mature embryo. So from zygote to embryo, that is embryogenesis, is taking place inside the ovule. Here how it looks inside the ovule, that is shown over here. You can see this one is the globular stage, followed by the heart-shaped stage. After heart-shaped stage, you will be getting this mature embryo. This is the mature embryo where two cotyledons are present. You will be having plumule and radicle also, here radicle also. This diagram that you can see is the stage where seed development has taken place. So these are the pictures of ovules where you can see how the embryo it develops during the embryogenesis. Now what we have seen is of dicot. In monocot also somewhat the stages are similar. Till the octate stage, that means till the globular stage, somewhat till the globular stage, all the stages are similar. Later differentiation starts after the globular stage, that means 8 cell octate, whatever it is there. After that differentiation start from the dicot. So here only one cotyledon is present at the terminal position. Here you can see this is the cotyledon. Single cotyledon is present in monocot. This is somewhat shield shaped. This one is shield shaped, that is why it is called as scutellum. This is the cotyledon known as scutellum. Here you can see plumule. Here, somewhere here you will be finding plumule which has a protective sheet called as coleoptile. This one is the coleoptile. It is the protective sheet of a plumule. Here you can see the plumule shoot apex is shown. That means here plumule is there which is going to develop into the shoot. Here you can see presence of radicle which is also having a protective sheath known as coleorhiza, and this radicle is going to result in root system of a plant. So scutellum is the cotyledon, single cotyledon. Plumule going to result in a shoot and it has a protective sheath called as coleoptile. Radicle going to result in a root and it is having a protective sheath known as coleorhiza. So this is the structure of monocot embryo. Here you can see this is the monocot seed, maize seed is this, and here you can see the embryo, presence of embryo. Here also say all the structures scutellum, that is this is the cotyledon. Here you will find the plumule. Here radicle is present along with the presence of endosperm. Now what is the role of this endosperm? That we all know that it is nutritive in nature. Sometimes what happens that the nucellus, what we have seen in the early stages of megasporogenesis, sometimes that nucellus can remain as it is. It may persist in later stages also. In seeds also you may find presence of nucellus. An example is the black pepper. In black pepper, if you grind that black pepper, so some whitish part you can see in the powder. So that whitish part, it is nothing but the nucellus. So in black pepper, nucellus which we have already seen or which is not present in other plants can remain as it is in black pepper. Now after endosperm and embryo development, you will find that simultaneously the ovule inside which all the processes are taking place, it converts into the seed. This ovule, it converts or it results in seed. What you can see over here is a maize seed and this is nothing but the ovule. Okay. Here you will find that endosperm is present. Sometimes what happens that we have already said that when the embryo it grows, so endosperm it gives or it provides nourishment. But in some cases what happens, in some cases like mostly in monocots what happened that the endosperm, like part of endosperm only gets utilized during the process of embryogenesis, not whole endosperm gets utilized. So part of endosperm remains as it is after the seed development also. So that type of seed is known as endospermic or albuminous seed. Endospermic or albuminous seed, where you will be finding endosperm after the development of seed also. Okay, and mostly we'll find the plants like monocots are the examples of this endospermic or albuminous type of endosperm or the seed. Castor, coconut, maize, these example you can take for endospermic seed. This is the example of, or this is the diagram of the dicot seed. Here also you will see ovule has converted into a grown or developed into seed. Here you will not find the structure called as endosperm. We cannot see endosperm over here because in dicot, during the process of embryogenesis, whole endosperm get utilized. So that is why we cannot see presence of endosperm in dicot seed. Okay. But here cotyledons are present. These are the cotyledons, and these cotyledons sometimes they provide nourishment. It has stored food which is helpful in germination process, in germination of that embryo. Now as here all the endosperm has already utilized, so no endosperm is present, and that is why the seed is known as non-endospermic or exalbuminous seed. Non-endospermic or exalbuminous seed. An example, you can have all the dicot seeds in this category like pea, beans are there. These are the examples of this endospermic or exalbuminous seeds. Now we said that ovary, it developed into seed. Now what about the fruit? So ovule is present inside the ovary, and this ovary it results in the fruit formation. Ovary results in fruit while ovule results in seed formation. Now in that structure we have seen integuments also, right? Ovary developed into the fruit, ovule developed into the seed, and around the ovule integuments were present. So these integuments also it persists after embryogenesis, and you can see these integuments in seed also. That means the protective covering of this seed is made up of integuments, or integuments developed into the protective layer of this seed. So testa is the outermost layer, and tegmen is the innermost layer of the seed coat, which is the result of integument. Now fruit development, it is generally triggered by the hormones produced by the developing seeds. That means when the seed is developing, at that time certain hormones they get secreted, and because of that the ovary it ripens, and because of the ripening of ovary it develops into the fruit. Okay, the ovary begins to differentiate into the fruit, and ovary wall develops into the pericarp. Whatever the ovary wall is there, that develops into the pericarp. Pericarp is basically three layered, which get differentiated in the fleshy fruit like mango or coconut. Here also in this diagram you can see, here you can see the seed is present, and this is the fruit, and the outer layer of this fruit is known as pericarp, and this pericarp can show three more layers. Outermost layer is the exocarp. You can imagine mango. Outermost yellowish part is the exocarp. Mesocarp, the flesh that we can eat is the mesocarp. This middle layer is the mesocarp, and inner to mesocarp you will find this endocarp, which is the part of the seed or embryo. So endocarp is the, if you imagine mango, then the part which we do not eat is the endocarp, what we eat is the mesocarp, and outermost layer is the exocarp. So this is how pericarp divides into the three layers. So this is the structure of fruit. Now what are the significance of seed and fruit formation? So fruit provide nourishment to the developing seeds, right? Fruit protects the seed in immature condition. Seed is present inside the fruit, so naturally it is protecting it. It serves as important propagating organ or unit of plant, because seed is the part of the plant which germinates and gives rise to a new plant. So it is a unit of a propagating organ or the propagating unit of the plant. Seeds and fruits develop special devices for their dispersal and thus help in the distribution of the species. That means the distribution of species means like everywhere we can see different types of species. So why this happens? Because the seeds and fruits, they have certain special things over there on their body. Because of that, using various agents, it can go to various areas and can germinate over there. So this is how it distributes various species to different places. So these are the significance of seeds and fruit formation. So here in this class we have studied about the double fertilization process. Then also we have seen post fertilization changes as well. Now in next class we are going to see dormancy and apomixis. Thank you.